Howdy, folks. Alright, so it's War Wednesday, but I'm not recording War Hits at the moment. I wanted to go over this a little bit. So, most have heard about balance changes that they're doing that are coming up. So, they nerfed and buffed quite a few heroes with this. Now, the majority of these are fair. And I know it sucks for someone who has an overpowered hero. All of a sudden, there's a nerf to it, making the hero not so good. But is that really the case? Well, no. They're more balanced. Now, I can totally see why some of them suck, though. There was a pretty deep cut to Terminus on here, but let's read over a few of these and just kind of chat about what it's going to do. So, Adede. Well, you know what? That's pretty good. So, this special damage increased from 305 to 320. She wasn't that useful. So you got to keep in mind that some of these nerfs and buffs are because of usage and not just being overpowered like Terminus was. A lot of people probably weren't using a Dede. I personally think Dash is better, and then of course you got Emma in that category if you're strictly talking about vanilla heroes, and of course Emma's going to be used overwhelmingly in that category. But then they release Heroes of the Month like Mortis that were easily a nerf candidate right off the bat. But a lot of people think, oh, look at this great hero that I got. Well, he's already overpowered before, he even popped up in the Summon Gate as a Hero of the Month, and that's not good. So heroes like Adede get pushed to the side. And yeah, no one person can have an overwhelmingly unbeatable team. That's not what the game is about, and that this is something SG does do. They have to do nerfs and buffs to keep balance in the game. So Billy Bob, this is a good one too, 34 to 40. I do believe the speed weapons, the yellow speed weapons will actually help him now, which is good. Should grab my speed chart. That was, because he's got a decent special, but having that charge speed so low, it really was a drawback from him. So that's fair too. Those are fair buffs. Breakthrough. Now, I don't know, do we see Breakthrough too much yet? Relatively new hero. Zombie event's only been out, 3 times so far? So there would be some people that have them, and I have come across them in raids and in wars. Haven't seen them a whole heck of a lot, though, and they're already nerfing and buffing him. So an increased attack stat, so that's alright to have those. Defense decreased, though, by 20 points. Interesting. Damage decreased from 215 to 200. And defense gain from hit lowered from 4% to 2%. Interesting. I don't know that there's been a heck of a lot of usage for him yet, being that he's a relatively new hero, but there you go. They did some changes on him too. Alright, Delmar, this guy already hit like a truck anyway, so this one is kind of a little bit confusing. That he got an increase of 10% more in damage. A special max damage increase from 525 to 535, so I know that, like, he was already a decent sniper. I don't know that this one was really needed, but will it make a huge impact, being only 10%? Probably not, in all honesty. So either way, they could have left him and not buffed him at all, and he still would have been a decent hero. So this one definitely confuses me. Krampus just got another hit, though. which is interesting. Now, he did, what was it, 215% damage to everyone before when they first finally nerfed him. It was really high. And then he got a nerf to 180. Now it's down to 155. And where he's still a good hero. But yeah, I mean, that was huge for them to release him with that initial damage that he had that was that high was crazy. Maybe it was only 190, but regardless, it was really high. And they initially released him and he was overpowered. So to have two nerfs now kind of hurts. Is he still a decent hero? You bet ya. Absolutely is. And they should have never released him with that much damage to all opponents when that was way higher than even like the what is his name? Oh, the crazy professor guy that I can't think of right now. That's awesome. That steals the charge, and then he just outgunned every purple hero as soon as he was released. So that was very unfortunate. And then the people that chased to get him, it sucks for them because all of a sudden these are two deep hits now where he's gone down quite a bit. But he is still a decent hero. Really does suck though. Yeah. I wish they would be a little more balanced initially when they released some of these heroes, and then these nerfs and wouldn't be such a hard pill to swallow, but it is what it is. It's what SG's known for. They've been like this right from the get-go with Empires and Puzzles, so been many times. And it's not just the heroes, which I'll show in a little bit. It ends up being the synergy you find with other heroes that plays a part in this too. And then in their logs, they see that these certain heroes are being used so much while these other ones aren't being used. So we got to look at nerfing them because people are looking for synergy and which heroes work the best together for their defenses, right? And why wouldn't you? We all do that. So yeah, once they see that there's an overwhelming percentage though, where Terminus is in, who knows, well into the 90th percentile, I'm sure, of top teams and top defenses, then okay, we got to look at doing something with him. But that's not just what makes him dangerous, not him alone, and I'll show that in a few minutes. So Melter, charge speed increased. Well, that's nice for Melter. Melter was decent before too. Min, special damage increase from 245 to 265. Okay, so that's only 20 percentage points, and Min's actually decent on offense anyway, and that just helps right there. Like, I know he's not a defensive hero by any means, but again, a nice little buff to a vanilla hero is good. So Mortis, oh, my friend Mortis with the multi-kill just went nuts on everybody. Okay, way overpowered hero on initial release, so this one was needed. Damage decreased from 170 to 160, which is good. Bleed lowered 309 over 3 turns to 240 over 3 turns. Okay, so that's a pretty deep cut. The 170 to 160, I mean, that's not going to be too noticeable in all honesty. Critical chance lowered 42 to 35, so 7% there. Yeah, probably get that, maybe a little bit noticeable too, but the 309 over 3 turns to 240 is definitely a huge improvement that was needed. The guy could wipe out a team in no time, and then you get Terminus reviving him, or Cassini, or both in the same team, and it's just lights out a lot of the time. That's what made them overwhelmingly their synergy right there, right? And then the teams are too overwhelming to get through. Alright, so Panzer. I'm not sure that we'll notice this too much either, because it's 195 to 175. It's palpable, right? It's only 20. The tot duration from 4 to 3 turns. Yeah, that might be noticeable. But the tot is still so bloody annoying. Again, but if you've got a Mortis tank and a Terminus, and then a Panzer on flank, and then you've got a Cassinia in there too, or some other great snipers, then it still lights out, because all that is a hell of a lot of synergy on defense to keep each other alive, right? So I can see why that happened too, because Panzer's in a lot of the teams that have Mortis and Cassinia and Terminus. Perla. Now you don't see her as much anymore, but she is still a good blue tank. So the health increased 10%. Hero strength to 13%. I don't think that'll be too noticeable either, but that is a nice little boost for anybody that has Perla. But that's what I mean, is some of these nerfs and buffs aren't that bad. They're really not. They are for balance, and they are a good thing. So Powell, special damage increase from 260 to 275. Right on. Makes him a little bit better of a sniper. And again, he's another one that probably gets overlooked in that green category, like a Dede, right? And where people are just going to use Dasha, or in my case Dasha, because I don't have Emma. They're just going to use Emma. So, or if they were lucky enough to get one of the heroes of the month like Mortis that were crazy overpowered. And I do actually have what's his name, Minimoto for green sniper there, so I was lucky enough to get 2 copies of him. So alright, Stone, again another tough category, because people are going to opt for Stinger. Nice sniper that heals herself a little bit. And some of the other yellows, like the event heroes like Cooper, right? Another awesome sniper. So, and then of course Terminus. They're gonna go for first before ever leveling up this guy. So I'd imagine he doesn't get seen very much, which is why they decided to buff him, because his usage was probably seriously low. So increase from 213 to 225%. That's a nice little buff for him. And he does have his uses. 5-star charge attack tourneys. Oh man, guy will kick butt. Especially if it's a no purple and you can put him in tank position. He will rain down the pain charging up quickly, right? With that amount of damage that he's doing now. That's something to think about if you do have him leveled. Alright, so Mr. Terminus. You suck, robot. You needed this. Again, he was released right out of the summon gate and already overpowered, so he definitely was a nerf candidate right from the get-go. And the longer you play this type of game, the more you'll kind of see it, and you look at a special and read it and go, wow, that's a little much. Like War Chest. War Chest is definitely a nerf candidate. So we'll see what happens with that down the road. And he'll still be a good hero even after a nerf, like these guys all are. So special damage decrease from 178 to 135. And that's the part that really needed to be nerfed. That was way, way overpowered. I am surprised about this one though. The resurrection chance lowered from 50 to 35. 15 points lowered. Yeah, I am surprised about that. I honestly thought they would leave that at 50%. It was really the damage that he was doing on top of the reviving that was overwhelming. And then you put a Ragnarok Vantage on him, so he dodges. And then they turned him into a support hero so he can withstand status ailments. And it's like, holy crap, guys, what are you doing here? And the HP from revive lowered from 32% to 25%. That's nice too, because sometimes you could have a hero charged up, but they may not do enough damage to get rid of him. Because I sometimes tend to hang on to, I know if he's going to go off, if I have a sniper charged I will let him go off and revive. And then I will hit the tank again if it's Panzer or whatever to try and get rid of him with a sniper. But some of the other heroes that were multi-hitters didn't necessarily get rid of Panzer again, for instance, if Terminus brought the tank back. So this might help with that sort of thing, and then maybe it won't be quite so overwhelming to try and beat that defense. Yeah, now like Stinger would take out Panzer, like I say, but some of the other ones just wouldn't, that are multi-hitters. And especially if it's war and you have to take in a 4-star or something, they might not have enough juice to get rid of him at 32%, but maybe at 25%. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's a pretty big cut, yes, but still a great hero. And I know some people don't think that, but you got a fantastically overwhelmingly overpowered hero right from the summon gate. And a lot of us could see that just by reading the special. And then so when they do finally roll it back and nerf it, because this is long overdue on Terminus, you're thinking, holy hell, come on, man. Got this great hero and now I'm totally screwed. Well, not really, because he's still a great hero. So just some food for thought, which is why I thought I'd go through this list, and just some things for people to think about. And feel free to leave comments of anything I didn't cover that you thought of too along the way. So Thrasher, this is a nice one too. So it's only 10%. It's not that overwhelming. It probably won't be that noticeable. It is good for Thrasher though. Nice little buff to a vanilla one again. So Tremor, another one that was overpowered right out of the gate. And pretty much when you see special damage at this high of a percentage and they're multi-hitters where they're hitting 3 or 5, it's overpowered. Especially if they're hitting 5 with that much damage right off the bat. It's overpowered. But they release them anyway, and people do chase them, and it's an unfortunate kind of cycle sometimes, honestly, to see. So that was definitely needed as well, because again, you put him with Mortis and some of the other ones, the revivers, and that's just overwhelming because they can be revived by Terminus, and most of the time once the revive, they're also charged up to hit you again, and it's just lights out. So Wildcat, this is a good one too. And you know what, I think she is kind of an underrated hero because she gets looked over for a lot of different reds, like Delmar there, of course, with the amount of damage he does. And you want Thrasher sometimes for events and that, for the attack up that he does. So I do think she gets looked over, but she's kind of a neat little hero as well. So that's nice to give her another 10% buff there on her hit. So, okay. Okay, sorry about that blip there. It actually signed me out of the game, so I had to sign back in because I was in the announcements there for too long. Alright, so the other thing that I just wanted to kind of show is if sort of the synergy of it all. And I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not picking on spenders or no spenders or free to play or cheap to play or whatever. I'm just looking at the basic mechanics of it and why the nerfs and buffs were done. So you look at this team here and it's overwhelming synergy. So this is why it happened. All right. So this is just a good combination of heroes, which is why I picked this team too, to show what's going on and why they did the nerf. All right, let's start with Ksenia. Already revives and is a medic class, and then Terminus on the other wing revives and is the support class. Well, SG in their infinite wisdom initially made both of them medic class, which was awesome, and they should have left it, but they didn't. They switched Terminus to support class. So people wouldn't have been able to get them emblemed as high as quickly as they did if they had have remained the same class. And of course, if you have both revivers in your roster, you are going to get them leveled up as fast as you can, and you're going to get them on your defense. So I don't blame them for doing this. I don't blame the players for doing this at all. Good strategy. Of course you want your revivers there. But I do blame SG for switching the talent classes when it was not necessary. So you get those two, and with talented as high as they are, and that's just crazy. Now, she is slow, but whoop-de-doo. By the time you get through these other killers in the tank and the two flanks, she's gonna have been able to go off probably twice at least, and Terminus is 34 and slow as well, and same thing, he's probably gonna go off twice. Now, check this out, she's gonna get armor per turn every time too, so good synergy with the master weapon, especially if I don't really think there's any 5-star red dodge weapons, are there? But there's the tank bane that does health points and is a good defensive weapon as well, but this one's better if you're going to put armor on her every time. It's not a bad attack stat either, really, at 256, or defense for that matter. So good synergy there for a defensive weapon. Smart choice. Go over to Mortis. Charge speed is average. 160 damage to all enemies. The critical chance damage. And the 240 bleed over 3 turns. So that's not as overwhelming now that it's not 309. Over, was it 4 turns? So it's still crazy energy, that synergy, and that's still a crazy amount of damage, really. And then look at the weapon he's got on him. It's a dodge weapon. Of course you would. Dodge is king on defense. Dodge is king on defense. So good synergy there, because he's probably going to miss a special or two and some tiles that could have ultimately killed him, and of course he's a warfighter and revives. So if he doesn't get brought back by one of the two revivers, there's a good chance he's going to revive on his own with the warfighter, and it seems like it revives all the time. He'll revive 4 or 5 times easily some matches. Sometimes he doesn't revive at all, but generally speaking, it's a lot that he revives. Then you got this guy. So it used to be 230 damage. It's still 200 damage to all enemies, which is still an overwhelming amount. And he's got demolition class on him. I forget what that is. But yeah, and all enemies get minus 50 armor received for 3 turns. So if you took in Anastasia or another one like Pavardi, he just rendered them effective. So his special as a whole is crazy overwhelming. And then you got a dodge weapon on him. So he's going to dodge some specials and dodge some tiles. Alright, so really good setup here, really good synergy. And like I say, I don't blame the players for doing it. Go for it if you've got the means to set that up. Alright, so this guy is recon. He could possibly dodge a special. And he's going to hit everybody. Again. Crazy amount of damage. And the status ailment thing. So if you brought in a bunch of status ailments to fight these guys, he's going to render it ineffective and throw it back on your own team, which is unfortunate. So say you brought in silencers because you want to keep the the specials from going off, well, it's not necessarily going to work if he's just going to take them and throw them back on your team. Same with, same with this guy, he withstands the status ailments. So let's say you bring in Mirage, who is awesome for stuff like this, but not if the status ailment's going to get thrown back on the team by Krampus or withstood by his support class. So the combinations people were making were overwhelming. And this would be a hard team to fight in a war and take out more than a couple of times in one-shots, because people would have to start using their weaker heroes, right? And yeah, trickle-down effect. And then, of course, he can throw the status ailments back on you and silence you, and he's going to poison you at the same time with this weapon. Good synergy there. And that's going to hit everybody. And one last one, the Ragnarok Vantage. So you got another, the speed points won't help him on defense, but you got another dodge weapon in here. So look at the combination as a whole, guys, and this is exactly why the nerfs were needed. That's crazy, a crazy amount of synergy and a crazy amount of power to be all in one defense. But if you got the heroes to do it, go for it. Why wouldn't you? All of us would. So, dodge. Yeah, 3 dodge, poison weapon, and then armor to protect Ksenia and keep her alive longer. So yeah, there's a whole whack of mixtures everybody could do, right? And having him as a support hero and giving him the option to withstand is just so crazy to me when he's already that overwhelming to begin with. But like I say, SG switched up the talent classes, and then this kind of stuff happens. So players figure it out, and you should. That's part of the strategy of the game, right? And it does make it more fun to find these combinations. But then, like I say, they get an overwhelming amount of usage, and then other heroes don't get used, and SG takes a look at their logs and goes, oh, wait a minute, and introduces the nerfs. Hopefully they introduce more heroes like the Mayor that have the mindless attack that could possibly be used as a counter to these healers and revivers. But then, you know, you got Krampus that's a counter to that and can throw it back on your hero. And so there's always give and take on both sides, right? To finding the combinations that work awesome to get these heroes. Like, even though this is a very strong team, very good team, this isn't an unbeatable team. And the nerfs, it would have been way too overwhelming, of course, before the nerfs. Now there's more balance to it. So I don't like some of the nerfs and buffs and stuff that have happened either, but they are needed. They are definitely needed. So thought I'd just do a video about that today and put that out there for everybody. And like I say, feel free to comment, and I'd like other opinions on it. So let me know in the comment section, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks guys. So hopefully that's lots to think about, and yeah, it's going to keep on happening in the future, but hey, it's all part of the gameplay. Take care guys. Have a good day.